Hey, this is Andrew Bristansky, and today we're going to talk about the tiny but mighty 28mm f5.6 from TTArtisans, as well as the Finder. So I'd like to thank TTArtisans for hooking me up with this lens. I've had it in my possession for the past few months. I shot a wedding with it, I took it with me to Europe, and I just did some general day-to-day street photography with it, and it has been a really nice lens to use. So thank you again to TTArtisans. I'll drop a link in the description below so you guys can, buy one of these if you guys are inclined, because this thing rings it at 1/10 of the price of the Leica Summron, which it definitely looks like, right? This is almost an identical copy with a few exceptions. The Leica is unobtainium in the black finish, and of course it has a 34mm filter thread versus a 37. It has 6 elements in 4 groups, and this guy has 7 in 4 groups. Few differences, optically speaking, they kind of remind me of each other. I've tried the Summron in the past and I loved it. Now that I have this guy in my possession, which is about $500 Canadian, about $380 USD in the matte black paint finish, which I highly suggest, it has been definitely the sweet spot with regards to value. So great lens overall. The build quality is actually top notch. It feels very much like the Leica version, and it just looks the part, right? It's a tiny little 150-gram piece of brass and glass. Just a well-built little tool. Mine didn't come perfectly aligned, so TTArtisans includes a chart that you can, calibrate it for your rangefinder with, but that just is such a complicated thing to do. What I did, which you could probably try as well, is I set the lens to infinity. I took my camera and then I adjusted with the 3 screws the alignment at infinity. It's very simple. You just unscrew these 3 screws and rotate the helicoid here, and then you lock it back in. So there's some trial and error to do, but it's very simple to do. Other than that, you got your focus tab on the bottom, and the throw is very short. The minimum focusing distance is only 1 meter, so it really is trying to play homage to the original Summron. I feel like I could have benefited so many times from having a closer focus, but it is what it is. The inside of the back of the black version is entirely black paint, whereas on the chrome version, you can see the brass, it's not covered, which I always thought contributed to the flaring that this lens exhibits. So I was excited to see the black inside, but it still flares. That is the only drawback I would say about the optical performance of this lens, but we're gonna talk about that in a second. The aperture is 6 blades, inwardly curved, full stop click, so very easy to use, honestly, as a street photography lens. If you focus from the hip with this lens, easy to do, super tactile, and it's hard to miss a shot, especially at that massive depth of field that you have with 28mm at f5.6. Super good lens for street photography. Definitely one you'd want to have if that's your thing. So I did use it for street photography with the M10. Such a slick setup. I have the optional finder here that they sell. This thing rings at $50, give or take. It is a really useful little finder because on my M2 and my M3, I do not have 28mm frame lines. On the M2, it's a little easier to guesstimate, but on the M3, forget it. You're getting pretty much 50mm field of view through that high magnification viewfinder. So this is really a welcome little finder. I haven't seen much about this online, so I feel like I should kind of talk a little bit about it here. The exterior of it is all in aluminum, which is really nice. The accessory shoe attachment here is in plastic, so that's good because if you smack it really hard against something with, let's say your M10 or your M11 or whatever, you're not going to damage your expensive hot shoe. You're just going to probably break this mount, which is really good. The rubber eye cup here is kind of just placed on, and it falls off really easily. When I went to Delaware to shoot a wedding with it, I thought I dropped it at one point, but it turns out it fell off in my bag, thank God. But I was assuming that I was gonna have to do this review without the eye cup. So yeah, it's a nice little finder, but there's a reason why it costs so little when you compare it to the likes of Voigtlander and Leica and Zeiss. This coming in at $50, there are definitely gonna be some drawbacks, and the biggest one being that when you look through it, It's clear, the brightness is amazing, but there's no frame lines. So you're actually looking through this, and you have to pretty much pull your eye to the side as much as possible to see the peripherals where your frame lines end. And even at that, the corners are kind of cut off by the circle, view that you're getting through this. So you have a square view, but yeah, it's kind of, the corners are chopped off. Kind of hard to frame with if you ask me, but it gets the job done. The image quality on this lens is actually phenomenal. I did not expect it to be that good. Super sharp in the middle. As you get towards the edge of the frame, the corners get a little bit soft and busy, but just at the most extreme points of the corners, I would say the 2/3 of the frame, generally speaking, you're safe to place your subject anywhere in there, and it's going to be tack sharp. Towards the edges, you're going to lose a bit of sharpness. There is some vignetting to be had, as you would expect with a tiny lens. It is pretty pronounced, but it's definitely a quality of the lens. I mean, it's going to be hard to escape when you have a lens that's only like under 2 centimeters from your mount. The flaring is really where this lens falls short, and it's kind of what stopped me from enjoying it more. I really love the sharpness. I love the image quality. The rendering is beautiful. It's pastel-y. It's like there's like a pastel look to it because it's high sharpness but low contrast. So it's very classic and vintage. In black and white, this lens is everything. I love shooting this in black and white. I shot it for my entire destination wedding shoot. I brought it with me when I went to Delaware, and just a great compact setup, and it was just on me even on the plane. It was a fun experience to have. But it's to say that I was very wary of the veiled flaring, the ghosting that this thing produces. This thing will just suddenly flare. It happened to me a lot of times. I had to work around it, right? Because my subjects would be sharp, no problem there, but the contrast that you would lose from the flare was very noticeable, and it would get in the way. So I would, select the subject in Lightroom and then put a little bit of dehazing or add some contrast, but it never was the same. And it was definitely the Achilles heel of this lens in my opinion, because other than that, no distortion really. The sharpness is great. As a landscape lens, you can definitely get away with using it, and just the portability aspect of this. I literally slid this setup into my pocket many times. If I'm going to a venue that does not allow cameras or something like that, I was able to put my M2, M3, M10, whatever, with this lens on in my pocket, not a problem. So if you're aware of the flaring, you can create your own light source, right, by putting a flash on the top of the hot shoe and walk around. 100% doable, but just be cautious of that, because at the end of the day, this lens is a fantastic lens. There's not much that's going to compete with it, especially when you think about the legacy of the Leica that it's definitely emulating, and the black paint finish is beautiful. The hood is this nice matte black brass finish. I think it's brass. The mount is starting to wear, and I thought that the lens itself would start wearing and brassing like I saw in the catalog pictures, but no, it hasn't, and that's pretty cool. It's a pretty resistant material here, pretty good anti-abrasive paint. The lens cap, solid brass. This thing actually has a lot of weight to it. The hood itself too, nice and heavy, and then the lens cap also, solid brass. So when I got the lens delivered to me, I held it in the box, and the box had heft, and I was like, oh my God, there's like a cannonball in here, but it was just all the brass accessories. What you get in the box is pretty cool too. It's definitely harkened back to the Sumeron, so you have to open it up, pull out the actual box, and then inside is all your accessories that I threw in here. Silk padding for the lens, your screwdriver to adjust the alignments, and of course your grid, which is just so complicated. Just do what I said. Focus to infinity and align the lens at infinity. It's not, the lens isn't complicated enough for you to have to worry about aligning it at a shorter distance. And that concludes my video on the 28mm f5.6 from TTArtisans. It's been a wonderful lens to have and use, and I will definitely be using it more, especially as street photography as a tool for street photography. It's just a wonderful little tool to have. So check it out. I'll drop a link in the description below. You guys can hit it up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and supporting this channel really means a lot to me because it takes a lot of effort to make these videos. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.